My name is Clara Reynolds, a 32-year-old interior designer living in the quiet town of Willowmist. 4 years, my life felt beautifully simple, almost predictable in a comforting way. I shared a sunlit little house with my husband, Evan, a dedicated marketing specialist who often worked late but always came home with a warm smile and tired jokes. We had been married for 7 years, long enough for me to memorize the sound of his footsteps on the porch and the way he liked his coffee in the morning. Our evenings were filled with soft conversations, shared dinners, and plans for the future that felt solid and safe. I truly believed that stability was our strongest foundation. I had no reason, no sign, to suspect that the life I cherished was quietly built on a crack I had never noticed. A crack that would soon widen, reveal itself, and change everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and the man I called my partner. Life with Evan felt like a quiet melody that played the same comforting tune every day. Each morning began with the soft aroma of freshly brewed coffee drifting from the kitchen. Evan always woke up earlier than I did and prepared my cup exactly the way I liked it. Slightly sweet, with a layer of warm foam. I made breakfast while he leaned on the counter, talking about his deadlines or some harmless office gossip. Our mornings never felt rushed. They were steady, familiar, peaceful. On weekends, we escaped to Willowmist Lake, our favorite place since our first year of marriage. We would walk along the wooden dock, holding hands, watching the boats drift lazily across the water. Sometimes we rented bicycles and toured the small streets behind the lake, stopping only to buy ice cream at a tiny shop we both loved. Evenings were simple, too: homemade pasta, a movie, maybe a board game we never finished. Evan liked repairing things around the house, changing light fixtures, repainting old furniture. He often joked that our home was our shared masterpiece. And then there were his notes. Tiny white papers, always folded neatly, slipped into my notebook, my bag, my laptop case. "You're doing great. Dinner tonight? I miss you. Don't forget I love you." Those notes made me believe our marriage was solid, unshakable. He also mentioned saving money for a summer trip, the first long vacation we would take in years. I trusted him completely. I never checked his phone, his digital wallet, or his spending habits. Why would I? Evan had never given me a reason to doubt him. Back then, I thought I understood every corner of our life together. But the truth was quietly hiding behind a closed door I had not yet opened. And soon, that door would swing wide open. That night, Evan texted me saying he had to work late because of a new marketing campaign. I smiled, typed back a quick "don't skip dinner," and saved a plate for him in the fridge. It felt normal, routine, safe. But around 11 p.m., as I was finishing a project sketch, my phone chimed with an email notification. It was from his company's mailing list. Important notice: all employees were dismissed early today due to a system outage. My heart paused mid-beat. Dismissed early? But he told me he was staying late. A strange coldness spread through my chest. I told myself there must be a misunderstanding. A last-minute task. A meeting outside the office. Something reasonable. Something harmless. I called him. No answer. I called again. Still nothing. The quiet in our house suddenly felt louder than any noise I had ever known. The next morning, on my way to a furniture supplier, fate, or whatever cruel force guides moments like these, placed me in the exact wrong place at the exact wrong time. I stopped at a red light near Maplewood Street. That's when I saw him. Evan. Stepping out of the entrance of a modern apartment building I had never seen before. With a set of keys in hand. And beside him, a woman with soft brown hair, wearing his jacket casually over her shoulders. He laughed at something she said, then placed his hand gently on her back as they walked out together, close, too familiar. My breath stopped. That building. It wasn't near his office. It wasn't near any client. And it certainly had nothing to do with working late. I followed them from a distance, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. They talked like two people who shared routines, mornings, maybe even secrets. The kind of ease only people who live together have. After they left, I walked, no, staggered, toward the front desk. "Hi, excuse me," I managed to say. "Does someone named Evan Reynolds rent a place here?" The receptionist checked the system. "Oh yes. Unit 4B. Been renting for 3 months now." 3 months. 3 months of late-night office excuses. 3 months of him holding my hands at dinner and telling me he was tired from work. 3 months of loving notes in my laptop bag while he was living another life somewhere else. The floor seemed to sway beneath me. My throat tightened, my chest hollowed. Everything I believed about my marriage, about my husband, tilted and cracked in a single breath. In that moment, standing in the cold lobby of a building I had never entered before, I realized something terrifying. The life I thought I had was no longer real. And maybe it hadn't been real for a long time. When Evan came home that evening, the house felt colder than usual. I stood in the living room, hands trembling slightly, though I tried to hide it. He walked in with his usual smile, until he saw my face. "Clara? What's wrong?" I didn't waste a second. "What is apartment 4B, Evan?" He froze. His bag slipped from his hand and hit the floor with a dull thud. For a long moment, he didn't say anything. The silence was louder than any confession. Finally, he whispered, "Clara, I can explain." But explanations were meaningless now. I stepped closer. "Explain why you've been renting an apartment for 3 months. Explain why you walked out of that building with a woman this morning. Explain why you lied to me, every single night." His eyes filled with panic. He rubbed his face, breathing shakily. "Her name is Lydia. Lydia Hart. I met her during a project. She was going through a tough time, and I thought I was helping." "Helping?" I asked. "By hiding a second home? By living a second life?" He looked down. "It wasn't supposed to be this way. I never meant for anything to happen. I felt lost. Work was overwhelming. I felt like I wasn't enough at home or at the office." Lydia listened. "I didn't think it would go this far." I felt something inside me collapse. Not because he hurt me, but because he acted like betrayal was something that simply happened. "So you lived there with her?" My voice cracked on the last word. He didn't answer. And that silence, that terrible silence, was the confirmation I feared. I stepped back as tears blurred my vision. "Evan, do you know what I was doing while you were with her? I was planning our summer trip. I was cooking dinner for 2. I was believing in you." He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Clara, I'm sorry. I swear I didn't want to hurt you. You already did." The argument escalated. His apologies turned into broken sentences. My pain turned into anger. He begged me to understand, but there was nothing left to understand. Nothing that could make sense of the lies. Finally, I said the words neither of us wanted to hear. "I need you to leave. Tonight." Evan's face fell as if the ground beneath him had disappeared. He nodded slowly, tears streaming down his face. He grabbed his bag and walked to the door. When the door closed behind him, the sound echoed through the house, sharp and final. That was the moment our marriage shattered, quietly, but completely. I packed a small bag and went to stay with my close friend Mira for a few weeks. The apartment smelled of coffee and lavender when I arrived, but nothing could warm the cold that had spread through me. The first nights were the worst. I could not sleep. My chest felt tight and hollow. I would wake at 3 in the morning and stare at the ceiling, replaying every note, every little paper Evan had left me. I stopped eating properly. At work, my focus slipped, the colors of my designs seemed dull. Every time I closed my eyes, I pictured him opening the door to that other apartment, smiling at someone else. I asked myself the same painful questions over and over. Why did I miss the signs? Was I not enough? Had I been foolish to believe him completely? Mira did not offer quick fixes. She made tea, sat with me, and let me cry until I had no tears left. One evening, after I had spent hours pacing, she put her hand on my shoulder and said, "You did not deserve this. You gave love honestly. That is not a fault." Her words were simple, but they cut through the noise in my head. It was the first time someone told me I was not to blame for another person's choices. Slowly, the sharpness of my pain softened. I began to notice small things: my laugh returning at a movie line, a morning when I actually slept for 4 hours, a message from a colleague thanking me for help on a project. These were tiny proofs that I still existed outside of the betrayal. I started to write again, short notes, fragments of ideas for a new design. I walked in the park with Mira and watched people who were not part of my story. For the first time since the discovery, I looked at myself in the mirror and did not only see the woman hurt by betrayal, I saw someone capable, creative, and worthy. The loneliness remained, but it no longer defined me. A quiet conviction took root: I would not let this betrayal erase who I was. I had choices, and I would choose myself. Returning to my old life felt strange at first, almost like stepping into a house that still smelled of smoke after a fire. But I knew I had to rebuild, even if it meant starting with trembling hands. I threw myself into work, accepting more design projects than before. Creating beautiful spaces for others helped me reclaim pieces of myself, little by little. Each finished room felt like proof that I was not broken beyond repair. I also signed up for yoga classes at a small studio near Myra's apartment. At first, I could barely stay still during meditation. My mind kept wandering back to the night everything fell apart. But week by week, I learned how to breathe again, slow, steady, intentional. Healing, I realized, required patience, not pressure. To deal with the loneliness and the constant whirl of thoughts, I joined a support group for women struggling with emotional betrayal. Hearing their stories made me feel less alone, and sharing mine made me feel braver. One of them said something I never forgot: pain is not the end of your story. It's just a chapter. It became almost a mantra for me. During this time, I also launched a blog as a small experiment, English with Clara, learning through life stories. I wrote short English lessons based on my own experiences, emotions, trust, relationships, personal growth. I expected maybe a few readers, but within months the blog grew far beyond what I imagined. Hundreds of comments poured in from people around the world who related to the lessons, the pain, and the recovery. For the first time in a long time, I felt useful again. Around that period, I reconnected with Jonas, our old wedding photographer. He reached out after seeing one of my blog posts. We met for coffee, and what surprised me was the comfort he brought without saying much. He didn't ask for details or try to fix me. He simply listened and treated me like a person who still had value, not someone defined by heartbreak. I learned to smile again in his presence. Meanwhile, Evan began his own journey. He started therapy, cut every tie with Lydia, and stopped making excuses. He sent apologies from time to time, gentle, respectful messages with no expectations attached. For the first time, his actions felt genuine instead of desperate. A full year passed before he asked if we could meet. Not to win me back, he said, but to close the chapter with honesty. When we sat across from each other, I saw a different man. Not the Evan who hid behind lies, but someone who had finally faced himself. "I don't expect anything from you," he told me. "I just want you to know I've changed, not for us, but because I never want to be the man who hurts someone like that again." For the first time, I believed him. And in that moment, I chose forgiveness. Not to return to what we once had, but to free my heart from the weight of the past. And step forward, lighter, stronger, whole. That evening, I found myself standing beside Willow Mist Lake, the same place Evan and I used to visit on peaceful weekends. The sky glowed with soft orange light, reflecting across the calm water. For the first time in a long while, my heart felt steady. I looked at the lake and quietly repeated the journey I had survived. Peace, trust, betrayal, heartbreak, loneliness, self-realization, healing, growth. A path I never expected to walk, yet one that shaped me into someone I could finally recognize and respect. I realized something important. Trust can break. Hearts can break. But people can rise again, stronger than before. Forgiveness, I learned, is not about erasing the past or pretending the pain never existed. It is about freeing yourself from the weight someone else placed on your shoulders. It is about choosing peace over bitterness, clarity over anger, and a future over a wound. Not everyone deserves a second chance. But you deserve a second chance at peace, whether you give someone forgiveness or you walk away to protect your soul. My journey wasn't about saving a marriage. It was about finding myself again, my voice, my worth, my strength. And through that, I found a new way to help others learn English, not from textbooks, but from real emotions and real stories. Before leaving the lake, I whispered a final question to anyone listening. If you were in my place, would you give a second chance, or walk away? And then I added, share your thoughts in the comments and follow the channel for more emotional English listening stories to improve your English.